The Yorkshire Dales is well known for its river valleys, or dales as they are known around here. There's Wharfdale, Swaledale and Wensleydale, but it's on Ribblesdale that stands the three peaks, the hills of Penigent, Whernside and Ingleborough. It's also famous for its railway line, the Settle to Carlisle, a western line that runs from London to Glasgow in Scotland. It opened in 1875 and necessitated building a huge viaduct across a bog at the Dale Head. But we're not starting up there, we're starting on a bridge over the River Ribble between Giggleswick and Settle and following the road 8 miles up to the Dale Head. The first part of our journey is from Settle to Langcliffe. This bridge over the River Ribble between Settle and Giggleswick dates back to 1498 when it was rebuilt of stone. We're turning left and immediately there's Bridgend Mill that was built in 1790 as a cotton mill and extended in 1818. It closed in the early 1980s and then converted into flats. By the private car park to the mill in the river is Settle Hydro that was built in 2009. It uses an Archimedes screw turbine to power the flats. The chimney in the background is of Watershed Mill, a little higher up the road. Watershed Mill was built around 1783 and was another cotton mill using spinning machines invented by Richard Arkwright. Over 200 people worked here. It closed in the early 1950s and then became a corn warehouse and later, as it is now, a shopping complex. The next road left goes to High Mill, the largest of the cotton mills around here, and two built in the 1780s. We're going under the Settle Carlisle Railway here. We criss-cross it a few times on this journey. We're now approaching Langcliffe. The hall that you can't see is behind the hedge on the right. Since 1974, the road now bypasses the village, so be careful turning on the blind corner. The property at this corner, on the left, was the former pub, the Naked Woman Inn, although the plaque looks more like a man. The pub closed as long ago as 1862. At its centre is the village green. Forward is the former Wesleyan Methodist Chapel and Sunday School. The chapel, the further building, was built in 1903 and closed in 2001. Langcliffe has a population today of around 350 people. In 1851 it was over 600, mostly workers in the local cotton mills. A little further on, the church is on the right, but facing you at the junction is the village institute that was founded in 1900 and renowned for its plant sales. In its car park adjacent is the former primary school that closed in 2007. The church is dedicated to St John the Evangelist and was a chapel of ease to the ancient parish church of St Alkelda at Giggleswick. It was built in 1851 and funded by John G. Paley, a director of the vast Bolling Ironworks at Bradford. It's always open for visitors and you'll probably find a vast selection of books for sale. Surprisingly, the green altar cloth was made from the dressing gown of Lord Halifax, the former Viceroy of India. If you turn right by the church, the road goes steeply up and heads towards Malham and its famous cove, although we'll be coming back down to the village. We're going up to Atamaya Scar and the famous Victoria Cave. It's about a 5-minute drive and involves some blind double bends. It eventually flattens out with a view towards Pennygent Hill. You can park on the verge at the right, where the camper van is. A broad green path takes you the half-mile, or approximately 10-minute walk, to the cave. It's fairly level after the first bit of rise, then follow the signs through a gate and a stile, and it follows a wall at the bottom of the scar, a geological fault.
This valley lies adjacent to Wharfdale, about 1.5 miles above the town of Settle. And this magnificent limestone feature is Attermire Scar, famous of course for its complex series of caves and tunnels. Now the best known of the caves, Victoria Cave, was discovered in 1837, just in time for Queen Victoria's coronation. But I particularly like the story of how it was discovered in 1837. Apparently a local man called Michael Horner was out with his dog chasing foxes when his dog disappeared into one hole and came out of another. During one set of excavations, archaeologists discovered flint and antler harpoons. Now this surprised them because they didn't expect to find flint artefacts in a predominantly limestone area like this. Indeed, the closest place where those flint artefacts might have been used were the East Yorkshire wolds about 80 miles away, which made them think, well, those ancient hunters were either travelling a long way or this was actually on a trade route. Since the mid-19th century, this whole complex has been extensively excavated and uncovered. On the cave floor, under feet of accumulated clay, were found bones of a mammoth and also a hippo, and they're thought to be about 130,000 years old. This was a period when the climate here was much warmer. This place indeed has proved a treasure trove for archaeologists. During another excavation, they unearthed a whole lot of Roman artefacts, which made them think that perhaps for the Romans this place was a shrine.
Let's go back down to the village. The War Memorial Fountain has the names of 15 men, 11 who died during the First World War and 4 from the Second World War. New Street is lined with former weavers' cottages. At the end, you can look down on High Mill. We're next going to see the Hoffman lime kiln. We're going over the railway again. The quarry wall is straight ahead. It's not signposted. On the left is a concrete plant, and we're going to turn right by the tanker and go under the railway line. It looks as though you're not allowed on this road, but there is a public car park at the end and signage boards around the site. Where the parked car is ahead is the entrance to the kiln that we'll be looking at, but park in the official car park. This is the massive wall of a quarry. The Craven Lime Company was established in 1873 when lime was important as a fertiliser. It was also used in paper making and, surprisingly, as a food additive. A lot of what was once here has vanished after it closed in 1939, as the site was later used as a council tip. But if you go back down the lane from the car park, you can see the most interesting part. The Hoffman lime kiln is circular and has 22 individual burning chambers in it. Limestone was burned continuously in the circuit around the kiln, and it took an average of 6 weeks for the circuit to be completed. Even if sunny, it is recommended to use a torch. Your phone might have one. Or you can walk around the outside of it and see where the railway wagons pulled up alongside. Limestone, or technically Carboniferous limestone, was laid down here between 325 and 340 million years ago, to the north side of the valley, on the right. It's composed of decaying marine shellfish, when this was once the edge of a tropical lagoon. The rocks to the south side of the valley, at the left, are 420 million year old millstone grits. Again, today's main road bypasses the village of Stainforth. The signpost says Horton, Kiln and Langcliffe. They're 10 miles away. They're on Littondale, a valley that links Ribblesdale to Wharfdale. The name Stainforth means stony ford. The pub, the Craven Heifer, takes its name from a massive shorthorn cow, a heifer, that was bred at Bolton Abbey on Wharfdale in 1807. The bridge here has been a dividing line since Anglo-Saxon times, that's over 1,000 years ago, between two administrative areas of the West Riding of Yorkshire, Yew Cross and West Staincliffe. Today's bridge dates from 1764 when it was widened. A footpath runs up alongside Stainforth Beck to the other half of the village, where there's a village hall and where the first school was erected in 1710. And there's also a green, and you can cross the stepping stones back to this side. Just beyond the corner is St. Peter's Church, which was built in 1842 and paid for by 3 sisters of a Dawson family at a cost of £1,750. We bend back to the main road, passing the public car park on the left. Stainforth is a popular place to walk from. Now we're going to cross to the other side of the valley, to Knight, Stainforth and up to Helwith Bridge. The property on the left was the new village school that was built in 1857. It closed in 1984. The main road continues up the valley and will rejoin it again later, but this tiny road, no wider than an average car, drops down to the River Ribble. Now breathe in. Packhorse Bridge wasn't designed for vehicles when it was built in 1675. At the end of a bridge, on the left, is a gate that leads down to Stainforth Force. These steps in the rock have been caused by the North Craven Fault, when a huge earthquake 350 million years ago led to the limestone being lifted and leaving the much harder horizontal gritstone exposed. Back on the narrow lane, this leads up to a hamlet called Knight Stainforth. The lands here were owned by the Tempest family of Skipton, and Richard Tempest was knighted after the Battle of Wakefield in December 1460, hence the appendage. Knight Stainforth Hall, to the right over the low wall, was built in 1649 by Samuel Watson. He was of the Quaker faith, who at that time were outlawed. Note on the first floor, above the door, that some of the windows are blocked up. This was because in 1696 houses were taxed on how many windows they had. We're turning right here. The road ahead only leads to a farm. We're on the south side of the valley now. The much quieter and narrow road runs parallel to the main valley road on the other side. Ahead are two quarries. Dry Rig is on the left and closed in 2015. As mentioned, this side of the valley is gritstone, and material here was quarried for road building, although quarrying started here around 1780, firstly supplying paving stones. A public path leads up to a platform that allows you to look into the former quarry. The quarry next door is still working. The houses at Helwyth Bridge were built for the quarry workers. And there's a pub here that fronts onto the River Ribble, and the bridge also crosses the settled Carlisle railway line. Just around the corner, we rejoin the main road. Back on the main road, it's only a short distance to Horton and Ribblesdale, the village most visitors head for. The next hamlet is Studfold, and then the valley opens up. Around 20,000 years ago, this valley was once full of ice, and a glacier pushed down here. 10,000 years later, it melted and left behind the flat-bottomed valley with steep sides that we now see. To the right are views of a distinctive profile of Pen y Ghent. This rises 2,277 feet, or 694 metres. It's a Celtic name, today's Welsh, and roughly translates as hill on a border. Its distinctive profile comes about due to the top being made of millstone grit and stands on a base of softer limestone. Now we're approaching Horton and Ribblesdale. This is popular with walkers climbing Pen y Ghent and Ingleborough. The first turn right leads down to the former village school. Like most Dales communities, they have become second homes, or people have retired here, leaving to the school closure in 2017. On the corner is St Oswald's. The church was first recorded in the 12th century, when the lands of a village were owned by Jervo Abbey on Wensleydale, around 30 miles away. The interior is all Norman. Horton is divided in two. The Golden Lion serves this part of the village. Although it has a resident population of 450 people, it is very popular with walkers, runners and cyclists, hence the campsites and bed and breakfasts. People who don't work in the agricultural community work at the vast limestone quarry that lies behind the village. The Pennygent Cafe is a traditional start to people attempting the Three Peaks Walk, a route of 24 miles including 5,200 foot of ascent, or 1,585 metres. This has to be completed under 12 hours to get a certificate. The name Horton derives from Old English words meaning muddy farm. It's appended by Ribblesdale as there's a Horton in neighbouring Lancashire. We now cross over a stream called Brant's Gill and face the crown that serves this end of a village. The next bridge crosses the Ribble. At right are the playing fields that are the start of a Three Peaks Fell race that is held on the last Sunday in April. Organiser Dave Hodgson takes up the story.
The race starts at Horton in Ribblesdale, and we have the benefit of using the playing field there, which is made available to us by the residents. The full route is 24 miles. They've got to ascend 3 peaks, that's Pennygent, Whernside and Ingleborough in that order, each of them over 2,000 feet. This year we've got over 500 starters. We go up the road and then we take up the route that goes towards the shooting box at the foot of Pennygent. The runners then have to climb Pennygent.
The Fell race finishes back in the field, and the winner, who has completed the same circuit as the walk, will have done this in around 2 3/4 hours. Straight ahead on the corner is a railway station. The 72-mile-long line was built as a faster route to Glasgow. Construction started in 1870 and the first train ran on the 3rd of August 1875. In 1983 it was proposed to close the line, but such was the public outcry that it won a reprieve. The road generally follows the railway line. It has 5 passenger trains a day and is used for chartered steam trains in the summer and also used by goods trains, here transporting cement. This is the last stage of our journey and the longest. It's around 5 miles to Ribblehead Viaduct. Sellside is another pretty hamlet the road winds through. Many people head here as just beyond a track to the left leads up to underground caves, here called potholes. These are some of the easier to access and guides can be hired. The row of cottages belong to the railway company. and the hill ahead is Whernside, traditionally the second peak to be climbed by walkers or runners. It is the highest of the three peaks at 2,415 feet. It's a 2-mile walk up from Ribblehead, which we're approaching. From the top on a clear day, you can see the west coast 40 miles away. Perhaps these walkers are heading there. In the distance, that's Ribblehead Viaduct. The road right goes to Hawes on Wensleydale, 11 miles away, and also to the head of Dentdale. There is car parking at the junction, and on most days you find you can get a cup of tea or something to eat. Look back down the valley. The mounds are called drumlins and made up of material left behind by the glacier. The river Ribble starts here. Technically it is the confluence of two becks, Galebeck and Cambeck. It's the only major river in Yorkshire that flows westwards. Beyond Settle it turns to flow into the Irish Sea near Southport. Its total length is 75 miles. The railway viaduct crosses Batty Moss, and the foundations are 25 feet deep to carry the 24 arches, and every fifth pier is double thickness. It's made up of 1.5 million bricks and supported at its base by huge limestone blocks weighing up to 8 tons. It stands 104 feet high and is 1,320 feet or 4,330 metres long. Around 100 men died in its construction, and not content with building one of the largest viaducts in Britain, at the far end it enters Bleemore Tunnel, the longest on the line. The road that passes underneath is a former Roman road that runs to Ingleton, and where you can walk up the third peak, the steep 2,372 foot or 723 metre high Ingleborough. The road first passes the Station Inn, built at the same time as the line. Sheep fairs were once held here, the last recorded in 2001, and these were held behind the pub. The turn to the left up the rough track leads to Ribblehead Station. Even if you're not catching a train, there's a visitor centre that charts the history of the line. If you're lucky, you might catch a steam train passing through, although this one was filmed at Settle Station, near to where we set off. If you enjoyed watching this film on Ribblesdale, we've got lots of others on Yorkshire, not just on the Yorkshire Dales, but the North York Moors, the coast, the Pennines, as well as towns and cities. To keep up to date, please subscribe and let your friends know about them. So, until next time, thank you for watching.